is not the art of drawings that move, but the art of movements that are drawn. This is Norman McLaren. Norman was a Scottish Canadian animator that had one of the best descriptions to date. Some things are more difficult than they seem. Animation is one of them. So, animation through my past. Since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with animation, and I've always been fascinated from the creation of the actual animated characters. And a short time I was consumed with the idea of being a storyboard artist for Nickelodeon. And the word obsession is not an overstatement in any way or shape or form. Give me 1 second. Do you see that?
Yeah, we sure can, hon.
Okay. So there are many uses for animation. One of them being creative arts. Gaming, advertisement, entertainment, education, and scientific visuals and simulations with like flight military training and pilot training too. And we really use animation without knowing it because whenever someone hears the word animation, they instantly think of animated movies and TV shows. While those are definitely valid forms of animation, there is more than meets the eye. And things I researched during this project were the basic steps of animation. That being swash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight ahead versus pose to pose, follow through and overlapping action, slow and slow out, arcs, secondary action, timing, and exaggeration, as well as solid drawing and appeal. So I found out how intricate and time consuming animation really is. And for every frame of animation, the human eye can detect, it can only detect one frame, so you must draw 2 frames. For instance, a 10-second clip of animation would consist of 240 frames. And the most common frames per second for a movie would be 24 frames per second. So the average animated film is 88 minutes, which is 5,280 seconds, meaning 126,720 frames of animation must be drawn. And this to me is insane because the average moviegoer has no idea about the work being put into these films. And most 2D and 3D animated shows and films do not receive the respect they are owed because most are geared towards children. And since they are geared towards children, it's labeled as a kid's show or a kid's movie rather than a piece of art. Originally, I had chosen to animate a much more complex yet still relatively simple set of actions. Then I thought it would be better to have an extremely clean, smooth animation or a rough, rudimentary animation. My thought process being, even with simplicity, I can show a glimpse of the work that still needs to be put into it. And let me go back. So these were my beginning ideas of what I would animate. But as you can see, this is pretty simplistic still. But I had chosen to actually do this. This is my little animation. Wait for it. All right. Well, while that loads, it's basically a simple walk loop. Here we go. Of Mr. Krabs. And while that's extremely simplistic, that took me around 4 to 5 hours to do. And that really shows the work that really goes into a lot of animations, even though from the beginning and from the surface you think it's, that would take me like 10 or 15 minutes. But I kind of chose this to show that even simplicity, it still takes a good amount of work. And this was even done on an iPad Pro. So not even being done on a piece of paper, it still took a good amount of time. And if you were to be interested at all in animation, the best way to start would firstly, you can access my Doodle site that I put up, and I've simplified and given examples to each animation step, including a description and image. Included in my Doodle site is a link to Bloop Animation, which is a great resource to go to if you have any questions. And some tips would be do your own walk loop, maybe with some characters that you created, because the walk loop is in very easy motion, because you can look up walk loop template, and that will guide you in each step. And in conclusion, I hope that my senior experience has possibly created a spark or interest to anyone that also shares an appreciation for animation. And the next time you see an animation in any form, remember that is more intricate than what you may see on the surface. But if you truly love the thing you put time towards to, whether that be an activity, a job, or a project, you will come through. And that's it.
Thank you, Joel. That was awesome.
Thank you.
What kind of questions do you guys have for Joel about his project?
How many frames went
What's
into
your favorite show?
Wait, say that one more time.
How many frames did you put into that little animation you made?
There were like 18, I believe, because there were also, with the iPad Pro, you have to have layers of both animation and then a separate set of layers for colors, because I colored that one. But yeah, it wasn't too.
What's your favorite show?
Probably SpongeBob. Yeah.
Do you plan to continue doing this after this is done?
Probably not as a career, but I'll probably end up getting an iPad or something. It's just really fun to do little animations and make your own characters. So that's something I definitely am interested in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your senior project with us this afternoon, Joel. Nice job.